Hey you guys, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're returning. In today's video, I want to talk about messing with the middle and what exactly this means, what a lot of people are interpreting it to mean, and where we're sort of getting confused here. If this is something that you have been wondering about, if this is something that you've been confused about when messing with the middle, what that entails, you're going to want to watch this one. Because for about 99% of you, it's probably not what you think it means. So with that said, if manifestation and conscious creation are topics that you are interested in learning more about, then definitely don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. If you're interested in more resources from me, such as coaching, my workshops and courses, and other tools to help you manifest, I've got all of that information down in the description box below, so don't forget to check that out. Also, feel free to skip along to any point of the video if you want to go ahead and dive right into it. But really, I wanted to make this video after a conversation that I was having with a client the other day, where she was very much surprised when finding out that she didn't actually understand what messing with the middle meant. It was something very different, or what she had learned in other videos, other teachers, etc. And this is an incredibly important topic because this touches into one of the things that we absolutely don't want to do if we are ultimately trying to manifest something that we desire. So first off, what the hell does messing with the middle actually mean? So for most people, from what I've gathered, messing with the middle is defined as you're not supposed to imagine anything before the end. So if what you desire, for example, is marriage to a specific person, then we're not supposed to imagine a text message or imagine reconciliation or anything before that marriage outcome. And for a lot of people, the presumption here is that if we mess with the middle, if we imagine anything before the end, that this is somehow going to blow everything up. And what we desire is just going to implode in itself. And this is 100% false. Messing with the middle essentially means that we don't want to condition our desires. This is talking about what Neville referred to as conditioning, and that we don't want to condition what we desire. And what that means, basically, is that we don't want to try to put any roadblocks between where we are and ultimately where we want to be. So a common example of this would be something along the lines of, I can't manifest my person until this changes. I can't manifest my person until X, Y, and Z happens. I can't manifest my person because there's a third party, so I need to focus on the third party being gone, and on it goes. What we're doing here in this effect, if this is what we are thinking in our day-to-day, if this is the assumption that we have, that we need to do something for our manifestation to happen before we can even go to the end, or until it can show up, is we're putting a condition on it. So when we're told not to mess with the middle, what we're really being told is to not create a condition or a circumstance that gets between us and what we ultimately want. It's basically saying, hey, we can go straight to the end and we can imagine ourselves as that person that we want to be, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the assumptions, regardless of how we're feeling in this moment now. There's nothing that we have to do in order to make it happen first. There's nothing that we need to say, oh, but I need to accomplish X, Y, Z or A, B, C before it can happen. And it is incredibly important to note that we are habitually bad at conditioning our desires. So this is something that we absolutely do want to be mindful of. We want to be aware if we are doing this so that we can get ourselves out of the habit of doing it. Another thing that is common when it comes to conditioning, another way that we get stuck, is by trying to figure out the how. And we try to find a way that seems more reasonable or plausible for us, and we go that direction. So for example, if you want to manifest $1 million, just throwing that out there, to you, it might seem more logical or reasonable, or maybe the only way to do that would be something like winning the lottery. So you start to imagine a lottery win when really the desire is $1 million. It's not so much that we want a lottery win, but that we think it's the only way that we can obtain a large amount of money quickly. So because we cannot fathom a way that this can show up any other way, because we think in our rational, logical mind that the only way this could manifest is by this outcome, then we limit the ways in which God or awareness can bring our manifestation about. So by conditioning your desire or messing with the middle, it's essentially any excuse or reason that we come up with as to why we can't go to the end, in short. Now, what a lot of people have been mistaking this to mean is that we're not allowed to imagine a text message, we're not allowed to imagine getting back together with that person, we're not allowed to imagine anything before the ultimate outcome. And this is quite frankly not true. And the same thing goes with taking any kind of action. There's a whole lot of arbitrary rules that we're putting on this manifestation. And what happens here, if we're not careful, is that if we are thinking that we cannot ever take action, then if we are feeling inspired to do so, we may suppress it. We may not act on that inspired action. So this is something that is incredibly important to make this a message and really debunk the notion that you cannot do anything or imagine anything before the end. Because quite frankly, you can. You can do anything because you are God. And nothing is going to ruin the manifestation except your assumption that it's ruined or that you failed. Now, with that said, I do want to be clear about inspired action and what that means. I made a video talking in great detail about that topic. If you need to check out that video, I will leave the link for that guy up here and also down in the description box. But in a nutshell, inspired action is what happens when we are meant to take some sort of action in the 3D to help us bridge the gap from where we are to where we desire to be. And this usually comes in a burst of inspiration or maybe an epiphany that comes to you. This could be an idea that seemingly comes out of nowhere, but it often shows up in the form of something that we're really feeling pressed to do. And it's seemingly out of nowhere. It may look like it has no stemming ground or anything that makes sense sometimes, but when it's inspired, we don't want to ignore it. So the way to tell the difference between if you should take any sort of action is based on how you feel. The first thing that I would do is see where that is stemming from and see what feelings are associated with this. Are you feeling anxious about doing this? Are you feeling a sense of desperation? Are you feeling a sense of needing to know if this is working or needing a sign of this working? Any of that seems to be the case. If that is the feeling behind this urge to do something, then I would be mindful of that. It's not entirely recommended to take any sort of action in the 3D from that state. Now, if you are feeling inspired to do so and it's not stemming from anything anxious, perhaps it just seems to have stripped out of nowhere. If you are feeling calm or confident about doing so, then I would go ahead. Because what can happen if we're not careful is by fearing this idea that we can't take any action or that we literally do not want to move a finger, then that can eclipse what is inspired to happen. That can eclipse awareness trying to help us move into that desired state. That could eclipse awareness trying to help us with the bridge unfolding. This boils down to we don't need to put any barriers, we don't need to put any objectives, we don't need to put any conditions around what we desire. We can go to that end in imagination. We don't need to have the how figured out. We don't need to know what that's going to look like or what is going to transpire between now and then. So no, messing with the middle has nothing to do with imagining a message, imagining they reach out to you, or anything like that. I mean, these are all things that we can do in our day-to-day anyways. And if we think about how much of our day is spent going back and forth between and bouncing around different timelines, we can see that this is a natural occurrence. We just want to start getting ourselves acclimated to these desired outcomes and what we want to see manifested instead. Ultimately, just remember, it is so important, it is so, so important to not place conditions upon what you want. Your desire, ultimately, is a gift from God. It is a state of embodiment that you are meant to experience. If you have a desire for something, it's because you were meant to experience that. And the only thing that we are asked to do consciously, is live as though that we are now that person that we desire to be, that has the thing that we want, that is letting ourselves get lost in our imagination and saturating our mind with what that world and what that experience feels like from the place of already having it. So long as we do that, it is inevitable that it must be expressed. It is inevitable that your manifestation must come to pass. As challenging as it might be sometimes to try not to think about the how or when or how on earth it could come about, what would possibly need to happen in order for this thing to materialize, leave that up to God. That is not for us to know or to try to figure out consciously. We would limit ourselves so severely. We would constrict these possible outcomes in all the ways and all the myriads of ways that our desire can unfold for us. All we need to do is embody it, embody that state in imagination. So long as we do that, your outcome, your desire is promised to you. And the same thing goes for any action that we may feel inspired to do. If you are feeling a strong urge that is backed by a feeling of confidence or calm or security, that you should do something, that you should take some sort of action, then take it. Because inspired action also shows up in all different kinds of ways, and we do not want to accidentally shut ourselves off from that happening. We don't want to accidentally cut ourselves off from the bridge. And so let yourself be free to take any kind of inspired action. So long as we are honest with ourselves, and so long as we are taking a close observation of where this desire or where this urge is stemming from, then you are golden. If you are feeling an urge to do something in the 3D, to take an action that is stemming from a place of fear, anxiety, needing to see something happen, that's another thing entirely. We don't want to entertain that. We don't want to take action on that. From that state, it may not be the outcome that we want to hear or experience. And remember the ultimate truth in that we may not ever have an idea of how this can appear, but that's okay. I have had countless things manifest in a way that I would have never consciously considered. I would have never been able to figure it out using my conscious, rational mind. That is not a tool that we want to encourage. We don't want to try to fasten the idea of how we could possibly get this desire. If you have a desire for abundance, if you desire wealth and prosperity, then go to that end. Just imagine what that would be like. Imagine what that would feel like, what person you would be, what you would do with that money, like what would a day in the life look like for you, and entertain that. We don't need to go and try to figure out like, okay, but before I can have a bunch of money, I need to have a good paying job, or I need to launch this business, I need to do this, this, and that before I can get wealthy. No. All we want to do, all we need to do is go to the end in imagination, whatever that looks like for you. That could also mean that you have a desire for somebody to reach out to you. You have a desire for somebody to message you or call you. That is fine too. Let yourself go there. Let yourself go where it feels best and experience that in your imagination. And in a way that you would have never consciously conceived of anyways, you will see it unfold for you. So I hope this video helped. I hope that cleared up some misconception about messing with the middle. If you found this helpful, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you are interested in any of my resources, such as coaching with me, such as my courses and workshops, my blogs, my social channels, my podcast, all that good stuff, got down in the description box below. So don't forget to check that out. Also, don't forget to check out the other videos on this channel. Don't forget to check out my Manifestation Fundamentals playlist. Each video is a different topic, but they all cover how to manifest the best life possible. So until we meet again, you guys, as always, please take care, be well, and never forget how powerful you truly are. Happy manifesting, guys.